We will start our meeting now. So welcome to the AgRobotics Working Group meeting. It's the 31st of May. We'll start off with our new members that have joined the call. So I might call you out here and you can just give a brief update on who you are and what you're doing in the industry. And that way, if anyone goes, that's a person I want to connect with, they can reach out to you either direct or they can reach out to us and we can put a connection together with everyone. So I know I have Jenny from Vivid Machines. Is she on the call? I know Tess Omer is.
Yeah, hi. Jenny's not here. She's at a family wedding today.
Okay.
But I'm Tess O'Mara from Vivid Machines. I'm the director of partnerships. And yeah, we use computer vision for crop load management and yield prediction, mostly in apples right now. And we're starting to do some work in grapes. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tess. Is Cindy on the call? I didn't quite see that. Cindy isn't on the call right now, but she's from Pixel Farming Robotics. Xavier is on the call, though I do see Xavier, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Here, and thank you for the invite. A couple of familiar faces here. I'm Xavier Baptisia, Geta Systems. We work with growers and producers to do real-time plant tissue analysis and only potatoes and corn right now. Truthfully, we don't do much robotics, but it's something we're getting more and more into, more interested in. So super excited to be a part of it and learn more.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us. And I also see we have, please forgive me if I say it incorrectly, Lorraine.
Yeah, you got it.
Perfect.
Right. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Lorraine Vandermeiden. I'm the Research and Demonstration Coordinator with the Innovative Farmers Association of Ontario, as well as the Ontario Soil Network. I just started at the beginning of April, so I'm still new to my role, but looking forward to getting to know everybody a little bit more as the year goes on. So nice to meet you.
Fantastic. Welcome to the call, everyone. We're excited to have you. It's a great part of the network. And now we will move on to our presentation, which will be by the University of Guelph. And it's a purposeful diffusion project presented by Rule. Forgive me if I'm butchering your name as well. And Kondara from the University of Guelph. I'll let you two take it away and give a brief introduction of yourselves.
Thank you very much, Aaron. You can call me Atta, which is easy, right?
Yes.
My name is Atta Harul Chaudhary. It's difficult to sometimes, pronounce. And so my colleagues call me Atta. I'm an associate professor at the School of Environmental Design and Rural Development. Good morning, everyone. It is a great opportunity for us to share some of our work with this group. And with me, Kondokar Kabir. Kabir, you're here.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Kabir is a postdoc fellow who is working in my team. So today I just want to mention that it will be a little bit different kind of presentation that we have so far probably seen here. I like the opportunity to say that we've been enjoying different presentation, especially those are very practical, technology oriented, and I think I learned a lot. Like I have not had a chance to participate in all the presentation, but this is amazing to see how especially AgRobotics work is progressing in Ontario. Let me share my presentation. Can you see my slide?
Yep.
Okay. So I like to also mention about Tyler, who actually, facilitating the whole process, and he give me the information about, about the opportunity to present this work. So you can see a little bit change in title, which I call it Digital Development, Inclusive Innovation, Information Disorder. The reason we will talk about purposeful diffusion, but also I like to share very briefly about some other related work in that space. So let us start with purposeful diffusion that with the support from uh, this is a fund from Food from Thought, and our Office of Research generously provide us some resources to do this work. So before I, dive deep into the main topic, I just want to mention that, we are talking about technology and technology adoption in different presentation and different weeks. So for me, there are two approaches of technology adoption. One is technocentric, another is, I call it holocentric. So technocentric is something like, we create technology to solve a problem, right? But when we call about holocentric, which is, technology exists because of human needs. So there is a little bit different way of looking at it. Because if you think about the social media, like when we studied in 2006, right? And social media like Facebook and Twitter, these all were an idea. There is no actually what we have like in last 15 years, so I've seen the development in social media application. It was not there. It was just an idea. And it really adapts and evolve through the process of needs that people, want to use the technology, right? So that's why the human is important part of the technology. And that's why we call it holocentric, like how human and technology interact and how I understand the whole process of accepting technology, or what we call about adoption of technology. So and the objective of this initiative is, how we can expedite the adoption of innovation in Ontario's agriculture sector by identifying and engaging influential opinion leaders within farming communities. So we keep it a little bit broad. We call it more about technology in terms of more emerging technology, like, digital or AgRobotics or AI-based technology. But it doesn't exclude also like all other farming technology, right? So you keep it a little bit, broad for this aim of this project. So our research approach is, we will use social network analysis. We'll first look at, what we call name network, like who talks to whom about this technology. But as well as we also look at what are the support network system, like, who are the farmers, what are the other support agencies needed, people actually contact, when there is a need about technology adoption. So we'll look at actually two different approach of network analysis in this project. So here is other team members. They will, once in a while, definitely support us, not only on this project, but also a few other projects that I'll bring to your attention. And I like to also mention about Grow Ontario strategy, right? And the reason I want to mention that in that strategy, like agri-food technology and adoption is an important aim, right? Of the whole initiative. And also there are other things, other priorities of this, but I want to highlight that this is one of the aim for this strategy, and our work actually fit or align with of this technology adoption, understanding about the network of technology adoption process in Ontario. Here just in a snapshot of a study done in 2022, I guess. Why people, why in Ontario farmers adopt robotics, or why not, right? And those who adopt, they mention like there is, it increased productivity, production efficiency, reducing cost. These are the reason that actually they want to adopt AgRobotics. But those are non-adopter, they mention about high cost, lack of relevant technology, insufficient return on investment, lack of government support and funding, and lack of in-house expertise. And you can see that there are only 2/3 mentioned about non-adoption, right? 2/3 say they don't adopt in last 10 years any kind of robotics. And the adoption process is a little bit, those who adopted like is mostly in livestock sector than in crop sector. And here is probably some of you already know these. It has been in our scholarly field for a long time. What is called Rogers diffusion innovation theory, right? I just want to briefly mention about like how this exists for like more than 4 or 5 decades in our technology studies. So that any kind of technology adoption start with some kind of awareness of knowledge, right? And then it moves through persuasion and decision making. People start adopting or accepting, or they also reject it, right? But before making a decision, it doesn't mean that rejection is complete rejection. It can be also turned to adoption in later. So if people decide to adopt something, then there is implementation and confirmation. And implementation and confirmation stage also people can, make a decision about reject or discontinue, discontinuous of technology. And the persuasion depend on, the perceived characteristics of the technology or innovation, whether it is, advantageous, whether it's compatible with the existing technology, whether it's very complex, whether people can try in a small scale, or people can see, observe the value of the technology, right? So that's the important like initiation of the technology adoption process. And also prior condition is a very important thing. Before thinking about adoption process, we need a lot of research about understanding about the prior condition. And this group where I see that work is, being done about understanding the prior condition and field needs, as well as, we go for different kind of demonstration. And so this is a curve you can see like there are, when you start with technology adoption, you start with, some people we call early adopter. They go with that, technological idea. Some people see, the adopter and take some time, and they decide quickly to adopt, we call early majority. But there are also people who take more time, like, which you call late or laggard, right? Late majority or laggard. So they take time to see, like how technology goes, how adoption process, how other people feel about that. And that's we call, diffusion innovation of curve, which is, popularly known by Rogers innovation diffusion curve. So why opinion leader? So in the tipping point when we go with, early majority and help also laggard or late majority to become also innovator or adopter of the technology. The opinion leader actually plays a very important role, right? These are trusted advisor. They're respected for their knowledge and experience. This can be also a part of any network, support network, which influence the decision. They can also bridge gap between innovator and early adopters, right? As well as influence, the other people to adopt technology. They also spread awareness and shape perception of new ideas. So this opinion leader overall is the, key to accelerating innovation adoption. So in 1960s or 1950s, mass media played an important role, and we thought about mass media as a direct communication between, technology producer and adopter. But then Rogers actually came up with that two-step model, right? And Rogers mentioned that no, opinion leaders plays an important role in bridging that gap, right, between mass media and the recipient. And opinion leader influence, how we interpret information. They understand the society, they understand the community and their need, right? And of course, finally, we make a decision about, the information that we receive and we interpret in our own social system. We'll actually, our plan is to next step to develop a questionnaire. I think we also already developed a draft that we need to actually share with the team. We like to reach out a few practitioners about, like the applicability of the questionnaire. And so the idea is to, to reach out to farmers as well as intermediaries, like who helps, like farmers to adopt technology. So we'll actually also have a plan to do some key inform interview. So through the survey, actually, we'll be able to understand who are those the opinion lead, who are those nodes where people actually come go for information, go for support, right? So that's will in our next stage we'll actually implement through that survey. And our plan is to have some kind of a concrete result, maybe by end of fall or next this winter, coming winter. And we can use that information in order to, when we do some kind of agricultural fair or so, like we can have an understanding who to actually invite and how to mobilize opinion leader to support technology adoption, especially in this case, AgRobotics technology. So I will try to, this is about purposeful diffusion project, but I like to quickly share a few other initiatives that might be interested and that we will need also your support from time to time. One project we call legal and ethical aspect of deploying artificial intelligence to combat climate change. So AI has a lot of application, and one application is, climate smart agricultural practice, right? And we review especially legal framework. What are the legal framework is available when we apply AI technology, artificial intelligence, different kind of sensor, data sharing, and what are the possible legal framework, we can deal with that, any kind of wrongdoing with AI-based technology in the climate smart practices. We also look at patent and data ownership and rights, especially in the AI for climate smart agriculture. And now we are also looking at large language model, right? Especially ChatGPT, that's popularly known as a large language model, how to facilitate adoption of climate smart agriculture innovation, because LLM is about sharing knowledge and information, right? And that support the decision making. And that this is a new project Tier 1 research program, which call enabling responsible AI-driven agri-food innovation interview and challenge and opportunity. So it just started in May this month, and we just a very early initiation stage. There are three objectives that we like to understand. The first objective is to to determine the responsibilities, values, motivation, and perception of different stakeholders about the adoption of this new AI technology. And we also want to assess 3 cases of emerging technology using a multi-criteria decision model. It's a little bit different kind of model that we use in our social science. And at the end, we want to develop a toolkit for social and economic development agency, which can be used for decision making about technology initiatives. And this toolkit can be also used to evaluate their roles and responsibilities during innovation process. And finally, this is our ongoing project. Is like we'll be wrapping up this project that we looked at adoption of digital technology by Ontario rainbow trout farmers, again with the KTT research program. And there are 3 objectives that we try to satisfy with this project. We try to identify commercially available digital technologies for Ontario rainbow trout aquaculture. And we try to determine the perception about the adoption of digital technology by Ontario rainbow trout farmers. And we are now actually using multi-criteria decision making about AHP model, it's called analytical hierarchy process, about looking at a specific tool, a specific software, and what are the main factors to be considered when someone wants to promote that technology. So at the end, we will, in this project, we try to determine different factors, management factors, regulatory consideration, and personal characteristics that actually influence the adoption of digital technology by Ontario rainbow trout farms and related farm enterprise. And here is a video. I don't know whether I just want to release a very short video. Can you see the screen of the video?
Yes, we can.
Very good.
Ontario rainbow trout live in an aquaculture that is increasingly managed using digital technology. Farmers use these technologies to collect and analyze data, improve feeding schedules, optimize environmental conditions, maximize production efficiency, increase sustainability, and improve profitability. The most commonly used technologies are production management software, feeding monitoring equipment, automatic fish counting equipment, weather stations, and digital microscopes. These technologies are used regularly and often by a significant proportion of farmers. In contrast, much newer digital technologies are rarely used, such as autonomous aerial drones, digital medical devices, environmental impact prediction software, marine emergency distress equipment, and automated water sampling systems. There are even some digital technologies which farmers do not use, such as water quality sensors, automated power management and backup systems, remote monitoring systems, payroll systems, and fleet and equipment management software. A recent study of producers, technology and input providers, and advisors within the rainbow trout industry, conducted with the support of the Ontario Agri-Food Innovation Alliance, identified 3 categories of factors that affect how technology is adopted in the industry. The first category emphasizes a shortage of individuals with specialized skills and concerns about data security and privacy that make producers apprehensive about embracing digital solutions. The second category focuses on the complexity of digital farming technologies, particularly for older farmers who may struggle to utilize these technologies effectively. High perceived initial investment required for adopting digital technologies, and the lack of personalized extension and advisory services, which leave farmers uncertain about the benefits of digital technologies. The third category relates to doubts about perceived value. Some participants expressed skepticism about the demonstrated value of digital technology, indicating a lack of compelling evidence or successful case studies. Uncertainty on whether digital technology partially replaces traditional farm workers, leading to fears of job displacement. Finally, uncertainty on whether digital technologies could ultimately increase production costs, adding financial pressure to an intricate industry. These viewpoints offer insights into the factors contributing to the current adoption rate of digital technology in the rainbow trout industry, showcasing the multifaceted challenges that must be addressed for broader technology adoption.
Okay. And finally, I want to just mention about other related work that is what we call misinformation and information disorder. So if, as you've seen, like we through this hour, we try to understand knowledge information network, right? And information nowadays is not a neutral. There is intentional nature of information. So we try to understand how does intentional nature of information influence also technology adoption in different domain, from organic farming, from AI and new emerging digital technology, in climate change. So Kabir is actually, his main work is from Banting, is about climate misinformation. So we try to understand, a different domain of information disorder. So far, we always look for information with integrity, but there are also dark side of information. And that is true that we are trying to understand. And we have also developed a misinformation research platform. Maybe you can take a look if you have a chance, what kind of work we are doing. And we also have a plan to do webinar series. We have done 2 webinar last year. And in August and fall, we have we plan to share specific findings that we have so far in our AI domain that we mentioned about legal framework, patent and data ownership, and also large language model and agriculture advisory service. Thank you very much. And all the projects actually are listed here, capinop.ca. And if you go to research project, you'll find more detailed information about what I have shared today.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
I know it's maybe a little bit different kind of presentation that I mentioned. It's not about technology, it's about more, understanding about society and
I'd like to maybe hop onto it just to maybe ask a little bit more question, if you're fine with it, Atta. Hi, I'm Jing. I'm from AgRobotics. This definitely is a topic that will definitely interest Haggerty because it's new technology, autonomous robots, and all that stuff. I'm curious about your slide about the barriers of adoption over here. I've noted it should be about slide 5 or 6 so far. You mentioned that one of the barriers of adoption is insufficient ROI. I was curious if you had like a specific percentage or number for that.
let me check. Can you repeat again, please?
Yes. So, one of your slide mentioned barriers of adoption, and one of them was insufficient ROI. So I was curious whether or not you maybe like had like a specific number. Is it 20%, 30%, or something like that?
No, we actually don't. We don't have a very specific number. It's more, generic kind of perception. I think this is another important area that I think we need to know about. Uh, People have like a general perception about, right, about ROI, like whether it is something more promising or not. And so with more research, I think we can maybe provide a specific numbers on that, ROI thing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? If anyone would like to get connected with him, I think we might have another one coming up from Juliana.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering. Thanks for the presentation. in my studies in journalism, the sociology of communication always featured this concept of the opinion leader and their influence on a whole range of things, from buying habits and now technology adoption. In an agricultural context, is it possible for you to maybe expand a bit on who the opinion leaders are when it comes to adoption of agricultural technology? I know farmers like to talk, in, on the farm and coffee shops during the winter time and stuff like that. Is that how the process works, or is it more sophisticated than that, I guess?
No, yes, opinion leader, actually, the idea of opinion leader exists, especially in agricultural extension. I don't know whether you know about the discipline. It's pretty well known. Yeah. So in that discipline for a long time. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the opinion leader could be even is a peer farmer. Opinion leader could be advisors, right? Opinion leader also could be in the like a group-based organization, right? And nowadays, opinion leaders also, social media influencer. People also follow, many social media influencer through online interaction. Yes, in agriculture, like when people talk to coffee shop or people see other people are doing and develop a trust. And in our other research, we found like sometimes farmers actually have more trust to their network-based folks, like especially peer farmers. Even that there is a good thing, also there is a bad thing. Like not bad thing, I would say, like there is a challenges with that. Sometimes, when you follow your neighbors or your good friends, right, and you believe them, and that is the problem with misinformation, right? And because they might also share a wrong information, or they might have an intention of sharing information, and people believe it, right? And in that case, there is a danger of like, this is a different topic, but to your question, answer to your question, yes, in agriculture, this is possible to analyze and have a bigger perspective. Who are the opinion leader, and how can we actually exchange or transfer information? Although we call transfer, I'm a little bit hesitant of saying transferring. For me, it's about more sharing or mobilizing, information rather than only simply transferring information.
Right. Thank you.
Let's see, Joe is here.
I don't know if Chuck's got some comments. I would see Chuck as being one of the major influencers, especially on the AgRobotics and agronomy side. He can maybe share some of his thoughts on, what tools he uses and how that information flows and how quickly it flows.
Yeah, one of the things about peer groups and groups of farmers is that farmers group themselves within subsets. And you got to be careful that a farmer who is posting on social media, and we like to call them, BTOs or whatever, like big time operators. Some people, see themselves as a BTO. And so if they see that on social media, they'll say, hey, I want to do that too. But other farmers look at that and say, I don't identify with that person, and I don't want to do what they're doing. And so you have to be careful in your peer group research that if you're trying to get groups to go together, they have to have a similar alignment of values and a similar alignment of how they see themselves. If you're trying to influence them, it has to come from people they think looks like them. And, when we look at, technology transfer, we also find that the slickness of the advertising and who the people are using, the farmers don't always believe it just because they see it on the neighbor next door. A lot of this has to, a lot of farmers believe that their farm is unique and their processes are unique. So no matter how much you see, until you get really close to home, and again, this gets down to, segmentation. If a farmer sees something happening in Perth County and they're in Niagara, they tend to ignore what's happening in Perth, and they'll say, well, I'm not going to do that on my farm because it doesn't relate to me. Likewise, so then it turns into a message of repetition. How many times do I see the message? And you see it over and over and over, and that tends to build it, which is pretty common sense. And we had an example that we have given, or that I've been giving people, is that we had a nursery operation that first looked at one of our robotic products back in 2021. They went to another farm, they went to all the demo events, and it took 3 years for them to adopt. And really what it is that they just couldn't find another farming operation or example that looked like them. And we, eventually they just had to see it enough times to bring it in. So it's a very challenging space to try to navigate.
Yeah, thank you, Chuck. I totally agree. And I think what we call echo chamber, right? What you're saying, like, is farmers actually have a group them and they like to believe things that, like-minded things. And this is not a problem in farming. This is actually a problem in in the society and then globally. And so what are the challenges to how to break that silo or polarization, what we call polarization, about thinking, about trusting people. But we also found in other research, like, farmers sometimes trust also non-ag people, like, for example, accountant, right? They, even for technical advice, they listen to them, right? And then, actual expert in agriculture space. So these issues of information dissemination and persuasion for adoption, it is a very dynamic process, and it's more dynamic than in the past because of course, the advancement of internet, and now we are talking about ChatGPT and other tools, and so it is quite a very much dynamic process, I would say.
Well, if I want to add another point to this, is that it also matters, when you look at let's say at an accountant or legal or whatever, and that consultation does not necessarily affect the production practice. The other thing that we're seeing is that, if the technology we're looking at relates to like the basic agronomy, sometimes it's easier to translate that from other locations, whether it's a fertility test or a soil test or an additive or a nutrient. Sometimes I find that that's a little easier to get someone to say, hey, I'll try that. But when it comes to a physical change to what it's really hard to their basic equipment or their production system, when it actually comes to that, that's a really tough one to break, just because the farmers operate on such a tight window, and the comment that they make to me is, they say, I've got 3 days to do this, or I've got 10 days to do this. And if you've got this new technology, like, I don't have next week, the next day, 3 days later to adopt this thing. So I'll just keep doing what I know works. And an apple grower, for example, that has to spray a treatment on their apple trees has a 3-hour window. And during that 3-hour window, they're not interested in how much technology is on that machine. They don't care about the GPS. They don't care about the sensors. They don't care about how much fuel the machine is using. They need to know that, am I going to get those apples sprayed in that time when it has to be done? And until you can say that with confidence, it doesn't, everything just goes out the window. And we see that in our agronomy business all the time, that in February, in the wintertime, we have all kinds of great plans for doing variable rate and using precision and doing soil testing. And then when you have a backward spring like this one, it all goes out the window and the farmer just does what they've always done. And which is super unfortunate, but that's what happens. And that translates, I think, across technology space. As it goes through, farmers will rank this on a level of priority and importance. And getting the crop in and looked after is number one always. Unless you can figure out a way to control the weather.
Yeah, just to add a small point about from other research like which I did internationally. I think the beauty of this adoption process also we should focus on farmers' innovation. So farmers are actually innovator all the time, and as a researcher, like especially those who are technology researcher or natural science researcher, I think one of the important responsibility I see like to explain the science behind farmers' innovation, and that when we can do that, that can be translated what we call farmer to farmer innovation process to other farming areas, and by resonating, the language they use, the wording they use, and the style they use in terms of communicating that innovation.
Thank you for that presentation. Was there any other question before I move on to the next section? No? If not, we can follow that up in the roundtable as well. Thank you for the presentation. And if anyone would like to be connected with them, please feel free to reach out to myself, or if you already have a direct connection, going straight through to him or to Dan Woods as well.
I just wanted to mention, Aaron, I'll reach out to for when we roll out the survey and some of the other study, and we'll need your help.
Absolutely. Fantastic. We'll move on to the conferences, meetings, field tours, and demonstrations. So we'll go through that quickly. So the LRIC Annual Symposium is on the 20th of June at the Grandway Event Center in Elora. The keynote speaker will be Mary Wells, the Dean of Engineering at the University of Waterloo, and what she will be speaking on is engineering a better farm. So it'll be quite the interesting speech, I think. The Ontario Agri Tech Pitch competition is also on the same day from 10 to 11 a.m. at 120 to 150 Research Lane, Guelph. So there's a link out there on that. The AgRobotics Demo Day on the 4th of July at the Muck Station. We have a registration link up in the actual agenda here. I'll put it in the chat quickly though, just so everyone has that as well. More details are going to come out on that as our subcommittee confirms on everything. And then we're also waiting on confirmation on which day we'll be using for the research day on the 10th or the 11th, but we will be holding that at the Simcoe Research Station. So the location is confirmed, but we're waiting on that to all be ironed out. There's also the International Symposium on Robotics and Automation on the 22nd of July in Manhattan, Kansas. And the Robotics Application Conference, which is on the 31st of July, and that is a virtual conference. Regenerative Agricultural Summit in Amsterdam in Europe. That'll be on the 3rd to 5th of September, 2024. Update on projects. Oh, sorry, Chuck, go ahead.
Then we have on June the 4th at Cornell Agritech is a demo for the TED robot. And then on June the 6th in Portland, New York as well, we're doing a demo as well. And just putting that out there.
Perfect. Do that. If anyone does have any other updates or events they'd like to put on there, please reach out to us, and we're more than willing to put it on these agendas as well, so we get that information out. Project updates. Obviously, the planning committee is active and planning on a lot of these demo days coming forward and then events going off into the future. We're also hopefully having a data committee opening up soon. We're just in the process of getting everything lined up, but once we have that up and going, we can open that up and see who would be interested in joining that committee. So we're excited to get these up and going, as it gets great feedback from the working group and allows us to steer what we're doing as well and ensure that it's accurate data that we're collecting. Funding opportunities. I don't think we've added anything new on there, other than the last update that we did the other meeting. And so I will shift it over to the round table if there is any other items. We have around 13 minutes. So anyone have any items or comments they'd like to bring up, or?
Hey, Grant, do you want to give an update as to where the Grant or Jason, where the various projects are at, like with the Nexus and the TED and everything?
Yeah, I can. Unless Jason's available on the call, he has a better idea on the projects. The Nexus robot, it was delivered up to the farmer's field at the Holland Marsh this past week. So we've had a couple days of training there with our technicians. Still in the process of getting it up and going, and the fields mapped out there. Other projects, all our Oz's are out running in the field now, at various farms around Ontario. The TED robot, we had a good demo there. What was that, last week, I believe, to a few local farmers, and we've been busy getting the vineyard mapped out there and making sure the map is all accurate, and the tooling is set for cultivation there as well. It will be, like Chuck said, it will be moved to New York next week for a couple demonstrations, and then it'll be going right back to Niagara to continue working there. So the farm droid up at the Keswick Marsh, it's just getting started with its weeding and cultivation. So we've adapted some new weeding teeth to that robot to try and handle the weed conditions in the marsh, the muck soil, a little better. So we adapted those teeth to the robot just yesterday, and also put some guards on them to keep soil from being thrown on the young onion plants as well. So it'll likely be starting cultivate either today or start of the week next week as well. So.
And then Grant is being overly generous. He had the Nexus had a mechanical issue, and so Grant got to practice his fire extinguisher skills. It wasn't major, so don't worry too much. And and then the TED robot, we actually had a mechanical issue with that as well. And so one of the challenges with these things is A, diagnosing it, and B, saying what parts do we need to have. So the parts were shipped from France. Grant was there reinstalling that. So again, he's being very generous with his description as to how well things are going. The other item is we did several hundred acres of high rate urea drone application in wheat. And the farmers so far have been very, very pleased with how that went. That ranged anywhere from 100 pounds the acre to 130 pounds the acre of urea application. And so we're going to keep tabs on that to see how that went. It was about we did about 400 acres. And the drone operators have much bigger biceps now from lifting pails of urea into the drones. So they got a workout and a skill set. But that whole aspect of refilling a drone is something that needs to be worked out. With liquid products, it's not too bad, but with dry and granular products, it's a real challenge. Especially with Transport Canada regulations that dictate how close you can land to a vehicle and to a servicing. If you are allowed to land within 5 feet or 10 feet of the vehicle, which the drones have the capability of doing, that would be a lot simpler. But when you got to be 50 or 100 feet away, it's a lot of walking with pails of fertilizer. So anyway, that was an interesting piece. Jason, are you on the call, Jason?
Yep, I'm here.
Want to talk about the any updates with the weed scouting project?
Yep, so Thomas and I designed a boom for that project. So last year we used 2 cameras in the same location, so we were able to image about a 5 to 6 foot swath at a time. But now we created a boom, and we can mount. It's going to be 6 cameras on it, but it's 5 sets of cameras side by side, so we'll be able to do about 25 to 30 feet at a time. So I'm gonna go pick up that boom now, and we have a demonstration with it next Tuesday. So we're just gonna be getting the boom fitted to one of our robots and set up with the cameras to get ready for that demonstration. And then hopefully within the next 2-3 weeks, we'll be out in the field using the scouting system to trial the first year with an actual model, so we can try to get so last year we spent the year collecting data to build the model, and this year is going to be the first year where we're going to be using the model, hopefully within the year. And that's where we're at with that.
Thank you for that update, Jason and Grant.
I should also mention that yesterday as well, we had a demo with one of our Oz robots out in at Market Garden operation in Pemberton, BC. So Curtis, we shipped one of our Oz robots out here from Ontario, and Curtis and Thomas from NIO, they were out there getting the Oz going over the past couple days, and they had a demonstration at the farm there, and then they have another one on the 1st and 3rd of June, so over the weekend here at the University of BC in Vancouver. So,
and there's lots of Thomases. So that Thomas, it works for NIO, and the Thomas I was speaking about, he's one of our returning students at Haggerty AgRobotics.
Any other items anyone would like to bring up?
Yeah, it's Juliana from AFC. Just a heads up, Area XO, which is the smart farm here in Ottawa, has a demo day towards the end of September each year, and there is a small ag component. Chuck's been there presenting on a panel, but it is a department we're considering kind of upping our profile. They're trying to rebrand the event from TC Expo because the focus in the past has been on sort of autonomy, to GC Expo, which is more inclusive of other government departments such as ours. So yeah, it's early days, but if we do sort of follow through with a more fulsome sponsorship of the event, then one of our requests would be to sort of bulk up the agricultural component of the day. So we might be looking to folks like Chuck, who I know has had some other discussions with Area XO about maybe bringing in some more technology to demonstrate there. If everyone's amenable to that and things kind of work out, might be a panel discussion, particular focus on the ag side. We'd be happy to have you folks promote what you're doing as far as the smart farm in your area, because it is an Ontario crowd that we're sort of attracting to that event. So more details to follow. We can probably have some offline discussions about maybe cooperating on a greater presence and showcasing the efforts of this group and the Western Fair Farm.
Yeah, I think Juliana, you're right. And Suzanne and I have had a couple of conversations about what either Haggerty AgRobotics or the working group's involvement could be at the Area XO event in September. So I think keep us posted as to what you're planning, and I think we'll be happy to support that in any way we can.
Great, thanks, Chuck.
Bob,
Well, we've been meeting with FCC, which also is a sponsor of Area XO, and Emily, and they want the Western Fair, Chuck's Innovation Farm Ontario to be involved. So I think probably a session with a bunch of people is probably a good bit of process, Aaron and Chuck. So
Absolutely. Bob, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just we're in the vertical growing sector, and we're manufacture harvesters, washers, tray flippers and stuff. We've got a few farms that use robots with our equipment, but we've got nothing local, no local involvement. I just wondered if there's anybody out there that's wants to get into that sector, because it's still fairly new as far as robotics goes, but it's definitely going to be an area that's going to keep developing over the years as well. So please reach out if you got any questions, or if you want to know more about the vertical farming.
Yep, for sure. Thanks. I'll send you a note. I get asked all the time. So
Okay, great.
Kristen?
Yeah, I was just wanted to mention that on June the 27th, there's a research and action webinar hosted by OMAFRA that's going to be happening. And if you want more information, we can put it on the agenda for next week.
Absolutely. Great. Any other items? I know we're coming up to our time now, so I just want to respect everyone's time. No? I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you for attending today, and see you next week. Dan Woods will be chairing the meeting next week as I'm away at a wedding. But so don't be surprised when you see him there.